Well, I think what we're going to do next here, we're going to discuss or cover a pre-auction review here of a sale that's happening in California, San Diego County. Their auction is coming up here almost right away, very quickly here. So we're going to take a moment and review some of the properties that are on that sale, which happens to be a humongous sale. I don't know how many properties was it, 700 to start with, I think. It was
Yeah,
it was it was a big number like that.
I think so, and it's still a pretty big list. A lot of them have redeemed, but there's still a lot of properties on it. Now, before we do that, let's go ahead and talk about California. California is classified as a tax deed state, and 5 years after the property has been delinquent, then they'll actually have the power. The tax collector will have the power to foreclose on the property and offer it up at a tax deed foreclosure auction. So they actually have a pretty long period in time in California before it even goes to the tax deed auction. Now, they use a premium bid method, and this is really just bidding up the price. So the starting bid in most cases is going to start at the delinquent taxes, penalties, and fees. Now, one thing I thought was kind of interesting in this San Diego auction that we're going to look at, Shade, is that they didn't have any cents or off dollars. If it started at 58,000 or 11,000. What I think
Yeah,
they're probably doing is kind
round
of rounding
numbers.
that up. Yeah, they're
Yeah, they
rounding
are.
it up.
That is
It,
kind of
it
interesting that they're rounding it up, but maybe they figure it makes it easier for them.
yeah, I'm not quite sure, but usually it's going to start at whatever the delinquent taxes, penalties, and fees is. They may round it up to a certain dollar amount, but whoever is the top bidder is going to win that property.
Yeah. Now, other things about California, California doesn't offer over-the-counter properties, meaning that if they don't sell a property at the auction, rather than just being able to get it from the county directly afterwards, they always end up holding subsequent sales. And so, if they have a certain number of properties here that they don't sell in this auction, they'll probably hold the subsequent sale where they may lower the opening bid amount on some of those properties that they weren't able to get sold because the opening bid amounts could be high. And so the other thing about California is they have a lot of online auctions. They use a variety of online auction companies with different counties that are around, but they have a lot of auction. There basically are a lot of California online auctions happening, and it seems like throughout the year.
Yeah, in fact, we were looking and we did a video on the Kern County sale a couple of a couple of weeks ago, and there's a bunch of properties on that list that probably aren't going to get bids on them because the back taxes are so high. So in that kind of scenario, what California will do is they'll go ahead and offer up that resale. And we've seen properties start at $100, $500, $1,000. So whenever the resales are coming up, we talk to our members about that because that's a good chance to go back in some of these areas and pick up land for 10 to 15 cents on the dollar.
So a few things that are interesting here about the San Diego sale. Now, the first one is that San Diego is holding it through Grant Street Group, which I think this is who they used last year as well. Um, you know, I think it's interesting with any of these auction companies, how many people they have following them, how many people you're competing with directly. We can see the size of the sale there, 715 properties to start with. They've had 155 cancel, so there's still 560 that are left. Something else that I like about this is they also have the list divided up, or you can divide it or look at it based on property types. So they have improved properties, unimproved properties, and timeshares that you can view, if you're looking for or trying to target a specific type of property.
Yeah, in fact, in all of our years, we have never invested in a timeshare. It's kind of interesting. We'll see that you don't see them very many places. You'll see them in California. There may be a couple of other states as well. But, I've always kind of been interested. We'll maybe have to try one just to see, what is the sellability of it. I've always been a little bit, because it's not real estate, I've always been a little shy of it.
Yeah. Now, yeah, in fact, let's take a look at the property. So right now we're looking at improved properties. All right. So we've selected it down to improved properties. That's all we're looking at this point. We can see we've got some different properties here. One thing that is amazing is just how much all these properties are valued at. A lot of these properties have a significant amount of value here we're looking at. Yeah, I mean, these properties here, I want to say the first one I think is about a $300,000 property. We've got properties, some of these are valued even higher, but we're going to look at property number 63. Oh, it did redeem. It redeemed during the time that we're preparing here for it, and just now.
They probably just had the redemptions from today,
Yeah,
upload to the system.
they probably just barely did, because I have 61 on here as well, which was, this one's an interesting house. It starts at 163, and it's a house in Oceanside that's valued at about 537. It has some interior images. Maybe we'll take a look at that here in a second. But this one that I was looking at, I thought was interesting because here, I'll pull it up here.
Yeah. Well,
Here it is.
one thing that's kind of interesting about this is I'm sure some of these properties are going to get some good competition, but if you can still acquire some of these for, we were talking earlier about max bid amounts. If you could get some of these in that 40 to 50% price range, they could still be worth picking up.
Yeah. Now, one thing that's interesting about this property that we're looking at is 63. So it did have $458,000 was the opening bid amount, right? And again, it says that it's a single family home, but when we pull up the address, it looks like this, right? So you can see that I believe it's this house right here, 2165, but actually the address on this is actually different. If we were to look, the address is separate here, but actually it does pull up the house though. So here's one thing that's kind of interesting is if we pull up on Redfin here, and you see right here, it kind of has the address separated a bit. There's a number 5 that's here. If I click on the one that doesn't have the number 5, it wasn't able to tell me a value here. But one thing that's interesting is when I click on the one that was number 5, and look at that, it sold today for $700,000. This 1 acre lot. And I think that what happened here is maybe either a pre-foreclosure. I mean, it's possible they could have just been selling it on their own, but I'll bet it was a pre-foreclosure.
Yeah, I would bet as well. So it was that building lot right there that sold?
Yeah, I think this is this 1 acre lot, and I haven't pulled out the GIS on it there to look at this here just yet to see actually where the lines are on it. Whoops, but it is this lot though, that's right next to this property essentially that sold just now, and that's probably where they got the funds. The 700,000 probably went to pay off the 458 in taxes. Oh, I think you're muted. Steve, I think you're muted. Steve, you're muted. Maybe we've dropped it here. I don't know. Can you hear me?
Yeah, just came back.
Oh, did you drop the call?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. All right, so that's an interesting property here, but there's actually several interesting properties. Let's look at the one right up above it that starts at 163, because there is still profitability in some of these properties, or at least the numbers are still good enough. In fact, let's see, 208, that one's got to be available. Oh, good, 208's available. Okay, this one here has strong numbers with this property. So this one starts off at 109,000. If we're looking at the property there, 2011 here, 2111. Let's pull it up here. Did that again to me here. Let's do this. Okay, so we've got the house right here. We can see an overhead image of it. All right, here, and copy that address here. Go down and look at it, and here we can see, so the image is from April of 2023. This is our house right there. We can see it's a nice little neighborhood here. And the property, if we're looking at the property, let's set the value here on it.
It's definitely outside San Diego somewhere. Oh, it's in Ramona?
Yeah, Ramona. And we've got $781,000 value here on the property. We can see it's built in 76. And now this one doesn't have interior images. Let's see the one though that I do know does. So on this one, the value is roughly 780,000. It starts at 100,000. You can get an idea there. There's a lot of room to bid up on it. Some of them don't quite have the same room to bid. Like, oh yeah, let's look at 61 because that one probably has a higher chance of going through the auction and not getting, not being redeemed because it does have kind of a higher amount compared to the property value. And I think it needs a little bit more work.
Yeah.
Oh, look at that, I made some crash. There we go. It's like I broke it. All right, let's see here. Now we do have this address here. Let me just grab that. We got it right here anyway.
Yeah, it's right there. You can copy it.
Every time I try to drag this thing over, it does that. Okay, there we go. Now, so here we can see this property right here. So the one for 163, valued at 537, but the one advantage, so built in 82, but we do have interior images here. So it says it's off market, but we could take a look at this and see when the images are from. And usually if we scroll down here to the bottom, we can usually see a history here. So this property sold last in 2016. So that's probably when these images were taken of, you know, the interior here of the property. It was probably in 2016.
Yeah, at 537,000 with a $160,000 opening bid, that's still, you know,
It's still doable.
Yeah, you could still add another 150,000 on it and probably still do a pretty good buy on it. It's not, you know, it's not really big. Seems to be overall pretty good. And there's actually, I mean, there's so many different ones, even the ones that I was kind of looking through as well, you know, where they started at 40 to 70 grand. They were valued in the 700,000 range. In fact, there was one that I was looking at that was this massive warehouse, you know, that started at 465,000. I don't know what it's valued at, probably, you know, 10 million or so, maybe 5 million. Have to look more into it.
Yeah, in fact, so if we click on the unimproved properties here, there's a lot. So there's more land in this sale than there are improved properties. You know, we can kind of see that as we're looking through, and we can see all the properties that are listed here. And I went through the first, I don't know, probably up to maybe about this first page of properties that I was looking at. And what's kind of interesting is we've got a mix of property types, and some of them, you know, may be good deals, and some of them, in some cases, the opening bids are too high. You know, in some cases, the opening bid is high enough that these properties may not get bid up at all. You know, just because they're really asking for quite a bit, you know, compared to what the property is valued or what it's worth. In fact, here, let me pull this thing up here, and so we can see all these properties right here. Let me show you what they are a little bit faster way here. Let me go slideshow. Okay, so property number one, 81,000 is this property right here. The other thing that's also kind of challenging about this is the way that San Diego has their records. Well, you know, you could play around with some of the records, but you couldn't get everything you wanted there before they were trying to charge you money for it. You know, and so trying to play around, at least with some of this stuff, I noticed it was just a little bit more challenging. But this property, you know, they're saying the county assessed value on it is 50,000, has an $81,000 opening bid. It's about 7.7 acres of land. It's accessible that we can see, but we're not really sure, like looking at like this, what the, you know, what the topography looks like, how hilly it is here, and what the usability on it may be. So I don't know whether we're looking at a single building lot here, or we're looking at something that you could subdivide and use for multiple things.
Yeah, well, you can see a structure over there to the left. You know,
Yeah.
that's where we're trying to see if we could find some type of topographical map and really looking at the market value as well, because, you know, maybe it's worth only 50 grand or maybe it's worth 200 grand. You know, looking at land, it can make a big difference. I mean, we were looking at some of those properties there in Louisiana that maybe only valued at 6,000 or 7,000 as far as the assessed value, but the market value was closer to 30. I saw this one as well. In fact, I almost thought about doing a bad deal review on it if it ends up getting purchased.
Yeah, yeah. This is one here where we're looking at a piece of garbage. You can't do anything with this property, but they still place the value on it at 83,000, and so it's accruing taxes at a pretty quick rate. You know, $11,000 opening bid, but again, you wouldn't want to buy it just because there's nothing you can really do with it. Um,
My
it's
only
basically a
question
leftover piece.
was if maybe you could put a billboard there on that
Yeah.
little piece of grass. But that was the only I was trying to say. Could you, if you end up buying this property, is there anything you could do with that? And that was about the only thing I could think of.
Yeah. Now, some of these ones that are cheaper are actually decent lots. I mean, this one at $2,100 is a pretty good lot. You know, that would be worth going after. They set the value on it at about 16,000, but I'm sure it's probably much higher than that based on everything that we were looking at. It would have to have some decent numbers here behind it. But that I was impressed by this property. It was nicer than I thought it would be. But then this one, the one for 1,200, the very next one though, was a piece of useless land, and you can see that's totally reflected in the land value.
Yeah, definitely a junk piece of land. It probably won't get purchased at the tax sale.
Yeah,
I hope not. Hope not.
yeah, yeah. Now we've got another one here that is at 11,500, and you can see this one, is obviously more usable and a more valuable property as well. But they value it, the county value at 83,000. Compared to the last one, they had $199 value on it, and so no, this one's actually pretty good. I think somehow, no, actually no, this next one is the same. Wait, look, so on 88 and 89 must have been sold here by. Let's see, they were owned by the same person. I think, let's see here.
First Regional Bank.
Yeah. Yeah, and so here we see this other one here, so that was parcel 1, parcel 2 here. Oh, maybe even the next one too.
You wouldn't want to buy parcel 1. I mean, you wouldn't want to buy parcel 2 unless you bought parcel 1.
Yeah. Yeah,
Because
that makes sense.
see how that one's landlocked?
Yep.
It's landlocked through that first parcel. So that's where you try to pick up both of those pieces of land together, and that would really kind of maximize the value of it, giving you kind of a larger, thicker lot past your original lot.
And that's the third one, that I think is attached to the same thing. So I think it's just on the other side. Oh, it is. You see, so on this one, if you look at the very bottom left-hand corner of it, and
Yeah.
you can see that that's the lot that is right next to that house is this next one right here. So yeah, that's kind of interesting. They also have all of them they have roughly the same assessed value from the county, each one.
Now you could buy that third one on its own. It's just that one in the middle that you wouldn't want to buy unless you bought either one of the other properties.
Yeah, this one would be basically landlocked if it doesn't have one of the other ones to go along with it. But if it had, even the third one is even a tiny strip, but I guess it's still connection, to go from one property there to the other. But the first one would probably be the most ideal for it.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
well,
that is interesting.
And it would be interesting to look at the market values. You can see that there is some kind of address there, so it'd be easy to hone into this area and check and see what the actual value is of it, based on good comparables, based on properties that have sold within the area, and getting an idea of what our competition is as well.
Yeah, lots of really interesting properties though in these auctions that are happening in San Diego County. It's a big enough sale though that there are bound to be some really good deals that are going to come out.